Well, everyone you know has probably read The Couple Next Door. It's certainly spent enough time on bestsellers lists to earn a spot on your bedside table. And if you've been waiting for another Shari Lapena book to sink your teeth into, I'm here to tell you the wait is over. An Unwanted Guest is the ominous story of a weekend retreat gone horribly wrong, killing off characters faster than you can turn the pages. Author Shari Lapena is very much a wanted guest in our studio this morning. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Can I first of all say, I think it might be a surprise to readers, it was to me, that you live in Toronto.
Yes, I've lived here for my whole life, pretty much.
I love that you are one of our own writing these wildly successful books, very popular books for good reason. Let's talk about your latest one.
Okay.
It is this beautiful setting. You do such a gorgeous job of setting up this winter wonderland scene, this beautiful historic inn, and then it all goes really wrong really fast. Tell me more about the story.
I wanted to write a story where there were a number of disparate characters trapped in a winter setting where they couldn't get out, and then somebody would die, and more people would die, and the characters would have to figure out who was going to be next and who was doing the killing.
Well, a hint that you are Canadian should have been the fact that weather plays a big part in this story.
Well, it was partly inspired by that ice storm that we had in Toronto a few years ago.
I could tell you had some lived experience, just knowing how dangerous it is to walk out on the ice and things like that. And a reno, I guess, also inspired another key detail of this story.
That was another aspect, yes. My husband and I bought a farm outside of Cobourg a few years ago. We're fixing it up, and it has a very grand front staircase, but it also has a back staircase, a servant staircase. So that intrigued me, the idea of a front staircase, but also the secret back staircase that you could circle around and do things behind the scenes. So that figures in the book.
As people will come to realize that the staircase is a big part of the story. You chose to tell it from a number of characters' voices instead of just one. Why did you choose to play out this story this way?
You know, I always prefer to use a third-person point of view and go into multiple viewpoints. And I think it's a fun way for me to write because I really enjoy getting inside characters' heads.
It reminded me of a play or a bit of like an Agatha Christie story where you've got all these great characters coming together and you're not quite sure which one to believe.
Yes.
They all have these compelling stories. You have this great way of playing with the reader's mind where you think, oh, I've seen enough TV, I figured this out, and then all of a sudden you start to doubt yourself. It's a really cool writing style. Do you go into it knowing who the killer is, or do you change your mind partway through?
I don't go into it knowing who the killer is.
I go
in with just a basic idea of what I want, which is an inn full of people that, you know, one of them is a killer. And I just go from there, and I develop my characters, and I see what they do and how they develop. And then as I go along, I'll have several characters that I've got my eye on, and I'll develop the threads. And then, you know, it's not till I'm at the end that I decide which of the threads are going to be the red herrings and which is the real killer.
That fascinates me. It's so good to know that when you're reading your books.
It changes sometimes.
Well, that's why I guess it feels like it changes as I'm reading it. Without giving anything away, you are really well loved for the surprises you throw in at the very end. I always feel like there's two endings always to your stories. Are those set up ahead of time, or do they also play out?
No, they're not usually set up ahead of time. I think in most of the time, there's so many ways it can go that the final twist, I don't really decide on until really the very end.
I love knowing that you're also on this journey with us. That is great. You've had huge success, obviously, with The Couple Next Door, Stranger in the House. How has this level of success, I mean, you're in bestsellers lists in the UK, Canada, the US. Does it change your writing at all?
In a sense, it does. It becomes more of I'm a professional writer now, so I work to a deadline. I do a book a year. I do a lot of promotion. I do a lot of travel. So in that sense, and I have a lot of people behind me, a lot of marketing people. So in that sense, it's very different from when I started out and I was writing mostly for me and hoping to get a publisher. So yeah, it's quite different now.
Do you have a lot of fans coming up to you saying, you know, a scenario for your next book should be this?
I've had a couple. come up and say that. They're not really ideas I can work.
You also mentioned that you were a lawyer. How does that play into your storytelling and into your craft?
You know, I didn't think that it did, but, you know, people have brought it up again and again, and so many lawyers become writers. I think there's something about learning to, training your brain to be very analytical helps.
I also love knowing, Shari, that you are also a true crime fan and that you love to watch murder mysteries.
I do. It's my thing.
I feel like I would love to play Clue with you. See who could figure it out first.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much for being here today. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
An Unwanted Guest will be, I imagine already, as much loved as your other books have been. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.